Hey, it's Freshmaker LozzDawg. Today we're going to show you how to build a multi-generator setup powering the same grid throughout a two-level building. These are the techniques we use in our bases, but shown in a 6-squared base. As you see here, as we're running around, we have 7 generators on 2 stories that can be powered individually or all at the same time, creating a backup power source for the remaining grid.
Noting that this is just a smaller setup, spreading out your generators and adding more for larger bases is a really good tactic for when playing PvP, because turrets are such an important asset when you're defending against raids. Generators are an easy target. They only have 1,000 health and can be manually powered down by anyone who's able to get close enough. They can be damaged by enemy dinos, explosives, and are so loud and easy to find it's not funny. Our first generator setup was destroyed before the turrets could empty the bullets. But yeah, we've grown a lot since then, and now all our tribe mates are deaf through generator noise. Good fun. So this little shack in the jungle is kind of inspired by a guy we play with on our official server. It's just a small little shack in the jungle, bulk turrets and multiple gens set up. It's really effective because no matter what side you come at this base from, it's pretty well defended. It's got generators and power source from opposite side of the base for your turrets on every single wall and on multiple levels as well. So whether you come from the ground or the roof, you've got a power source coming from the opposite side of the base. It's really effective, and it can also be used in really large bases. So we'll show you how to build all your grids from the ground up so they all snap together and you get all your gens connected. So this is how we get our grid perfect and in the center of our base so that they're all lined up. We've got a sacrificial wall there that we try and get it close to, but I like to line it up as close as I can to my feet and along the line of the floor, and then we'll go first person mode and scroll around, and we will just try and line it up so that it just pokes through the end of the wall. So that'll allow us to put our gens nice and close up to the walls of our base and make sure the grid's central.
So now we want to just place the rest of the grid out, covering as much of the floor as possible. You'll see here we had to use some ceilings instead of foundations because of uneven ground. To protect them from the outside, we've placed walls covering up the gaps. Here we're going to place our first generator. We're going to try to fit it inside of one foundation, but it does stick out. We'll show you how to build around that in a second. We realised once we placed the door into the generator that you couldn't actually place the door on the door frame, so we've had to place the door and then go in and replace the generator behind the door. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Really depends on the cable placement. To cover it up, we use a sloped ceiling and then a normal ceiling on top of the generator. The generator will poke out a little bit on the top, but it doesn't matter.
So here we're going to place 2 more generators onto our existing grid. So we'll now have 3 generators on the ground floor, all connected to one grid, and we'll take that up to the 2nd story soon. But at the moment we have 3 gens all on one grid.
You can see here I've even fit a smithy on top of one where we've built it in. We've built them all in the exact same way. And over on this side I've put a fabricator, so it's not a waste of space. You can actually fit things up there.
Cool, so we've picked a few random spots to go up onto our second floor here. There's a couple of techniques you can do to get your grid flush with the floor so that you can place some more gens. Then they'll all be connected to the same grid. The more connections you can have to the second grid and between your grids is better. So if you can pick some more spots, it's always good. But at the moment, I'm just going 3 vertical and I'll go a diagonal down. So once we start with our diagonal down, that'll now be flush with the roof. But once you've started with your diagonal down and you've picked a direction, can't stress it enough that every single other vertical that you've got going up will have to go in the same direction. And if it doesn't, there's a couple simple things you can do to get it to go the right way. This is one of them. You can put a T here or a cross section and then your diagonal down, and that'll allow it to go the right way. We'll say that's pointing north. They're all pointing north now. So that's what we want.
This is another way that we can force change the direction of the incline cable. So this one's heading off in the wrong direction. So the way we change that is we demolish the cross section in front of it, and then it still wants it to go in the wrong direction. So we have to demolish the vertical cable, and once we replace that, it'll head in the right direction. It forces it to go off the cross section under the generator, which faces that direction. So we'll show you now why this is so important. These two inclines didn't go in the right direction, and therefore they don't line up and won't provide backup power to each other.
So here's another technique to get it flush with the second floor. You can put 2 verticals up, an incline down and another vertical up. And that'll leave us flush with the top floor. It's up to you what you guys use. There's probably many other ways to do it. They're the ways I like to do it. So now with our 4 extensions up to the second floor, we're going to grid out the whole second floor. But I'll just show you how we can snap them all together so that they actually are backup power all for each other and all linked together. So we've got a grid now on our second floor. We can go ahead and put some gens down. You can pick anywhere you want along the whole grid. This whole second floor, you can snap them to the grid because they're flush with the floor. I've just gone with the corners here, so we box them in.
Keeping in mind how easy the generators are to demolish with 1000 health, in a bigger base we'd put these also in the centre, so they're a lot harder to get to. Here we have another example of building in the generators can be a bit tricky sometimes. So we can't place a door. We demolish the generator and we place the door. But once we open the door, we still can't place the generator. So we have to demolish the ceiling because we think that might be getting in the way. The generator still can't be placed because the door's open. So we have to climb up onto the slope ceiling, place the generator, but we're able to place the ceiling on top of that fine. So sometimes you do have to work around it a little, but they always build in. We've built in the generators on the top floor, in the same manner as the bottom floor.
Okay, so we've put a grid underneath the ceiling of our first floor now, and to do that you just place 2 verticals up from your existing grid on the ground floor foundations. This can be done from anywhere, and you just use your cross sections to grid it up. It should sit just below the ceiling of the second floor. And that's just another grid for another double backup. And it also will allow us to place a grid on the second floor, which is done again with another 2 verticals from the grid underneath that ceiling. So here I can go 2 verticals to the grid underneath this ceiling. And that allows us to have a grid just underneath our top ceiling on the second floor. So with these 2 snap points here, I like to have a junction box in nice and close to the wall, and then on the cross-sectional cable, just that foundation away from it, just in case that cross-sectional cable gets damaged or destroyed. You've got your backup junction box on the cross-sectionals behind it. These boxes do have a fair distance on them. It's 2.5 foundations, so that's 2.5 wide, high and diagonally. So they will get your turrets and electrical equipment from a fair distance. I've got some on the ground outside of this base, pretty far away as seen earlier on in the vid.
So leave us a comment below on how you would raid this base, and maybe we'll make another video and try out some of your tactics.
And thanks for watching our first video ever, guys. I hope you got something out of it. Cheers.